Hey, folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting. But also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
The Madness Comic Network and comic-related madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good Tuesday morning. I hope you brought your coffee. I'm here today. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk comics. We're going to talk writing. And oh my God, so much going on right now. I have bougie coffee today. I'm so excited. I almost feel like I'm doing a Karen bit, but I'm not. Like, I'm actually excited about my coffee. It's just a breakfast blend, but I made some really bougie coffee creamer. It's like homemade cashew milk with cinnamon, like fancy cinnamon and coconut creamer, and it's fabulous. And it took me forever, like way too long to make it.
Yeah, it sounds like a Karen.
It sounds like a Karen episode, doesn't it? I know it's funny, but I love to eat good food. You should eat good food before you die. But seriously, I love good coffee. So I'm glad we're here this morning to share our coffee together. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking. All right, so if you don't know me, I'm Laurie Calcaterra. I'm the writer-creator of Path of the Pale Rider.
Hold on.
What? You made me skip over my coffee theme?
Yeah, and we're going back to your coffee thing.
What?
Going back. Because I got a big old cup of Folgers.
Oh.
With some a little bit of hazelnut creamer. Yeah, there you go. Folgers,
Gross.
Karen. There you go.
I know, we're having some weird overlap right now, aren't we, Lou? Good morning, Lou, by the way. Thank you for bringing your tea. Just want to remind everybody that Path of the Pale Rider trade paperback is available on Any One World. You can always get it there, and there's all sorts of Halloween sales right now, so you should go check out Any One World. Before I bring our guest in today, I actually have a lot of shout outs. There's a ton of people that are running Kickstarters right now. They're all super cool. My bestie, of course, Corissa Grant, is running her 75,000th campaign. It's number 12, let's be honest. And it's already funded. This is for books 1 and 2 hardcovers. So she has she does these beautiful hardcover books, man. And she's just so far ahead of everybody else. It's amazing, where it's just like, this is done, but she's also has 6 more issues done of 4 issues done to Redemption. Now she probably has 2 issues done of the Western, which is coming. So spend some time scrolling on this one. She's got a ton of merch. I think some of these things are new. The plushies.
That's the first one.
I have the first one as well.
Yeah,
so,
it's beautiful. I had to show you. I'm at your house today. I'm
not
hanging
in the house.
I'm hanging out. It's a mirror image thing,
I feel like Dante is taking over. Next one I wanted to show is Ferryman Tales. If you guys are familiar with Charter Comics, that's how I met Matt Chambers. That's how I met Gilbert Perez. Tons of good stuff there. Chris Hayes is an excellent writer, does amazing work, and he writes this series called The Ferryman, and he's starting to branch out. So the ferryman is the guy that is in the boat, and he takes you across the river Styx, and you give him coins, right? So see his eyes are the coins. Anyway, so he's done several of these, and now he's branching off into the weird and extra. It's almost like the Twilight Zone, where everything is slightly different every episode. It's pretty cool. So this one has 6 more days. Again, it's already funded, so you're guaranteed books. There's some really cool stuff in here. And this cracks me up because this is Brody. Where is it? Let's show you a bigger one. They're starting to do cosplay covers, which I've never really seen before, but this is my buddy Brody. And on the cover of I was like, shut up. That is so cool. I've never seen people do a serious cosplay cover. I think William Russell did one on a previous Psycho Sal, but this looks really nice. And I had no idea that Brody actually played music, but I wouldn't even recognize Brody if he wasn't with his cowboy hat. You know what I mean? The man just lives in his hat. That's how you know who he is. So anywho, There's some really good stuff on here as well. William Russell covers. Speaking of William Russell, he also has the campaign that's live right now, Psycho Sal. And remember, this is one that I have written. This is issue number 7. And this series is pretty interesting because the first 3 issues were told from the detective's point of view. 4, 5, and 6 were told from a victim's point of view. And now we're moving into uncharted territory. 7, 8, and 9, you're going to get glimpses of the, not just glimpses. Like this one is, you're going to get, majority of it is from the killer's point of view. And then 8 and 9 are from the killer's point of view. So just amazing stuff. They don't put any kind of constraints on me. I was just like, hold my beer, off I go. Out of the Psycho Sal's, issue number 6, I think, was the first one that we actually slapped a mature rating on it. So that was me. Anyway, this one's amazing. And again, you guys are guaranteed this stuff. It's already funded. William Russell has been in the biz for a long time. Does good work, beautiful work. So you can definitely get your copy of that. One last one. I wanted to give Phoebe's Xavier a shout out. She's running a campaign, needs a little help. This one's, the goal is 1,300. She's got 17 days to go and she's at 351. Cosmic Book Horror Anthology. So there's 6 stories in this one. So let's just give it a quick preview because I don't know anything about this one, but okay, different styles. This is super cool. So yeah, so there's a ton of live campaigns right now. So please go check them out. Here's Phoebe. She's been on the show a couple of times. So go check all these out. See what floats your boat. Help support indie comics. Especially, that's how you get to read the good stuff. The good stuff is in indie. Let's be honest. It's not in the movie theater. Beetlejuice, whatever. It's sequel, reboots, prequels. I've had enough. I don't want to see them. I want new stuff. Give me indie comics. So let's bring in our guest today. Thank you, Vaughn, for being so patient.
Sorry about that. No, thank you for being patient. I'm the one who's late.
That's okay. We knew you had something just before, so I was like, I'm long-winded anyway, so
it's a good trait to have. It's a good trait
right.
to have.
So I was like, I'll just continue talking until yay, right? And then here we are. So welcome to the Tuesday Morning Brew. I'm excited to have you here, sir. I've heard wonderful things about you, and you and I have never had a chance to just sit and hash it out. So
yeah,
I'm excited to have you here. It's almost like I have to get you on the show so I can pelt you with all the questions. And
good.
Else is interrupting, right?
I've been there. I've had guests where I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be just long-winded.
Well, we have plenty of time, and it's like a 2-hour show. It feels like, oh my God, that's going to be a long show.
It goes fast.
It really does. So let's start at the beginning. Vaughn, tell us your origin story, how you got into comics, the things you were reading or inspired you, and then ultimately what pushed you to like pull that trigger and start making comics yourself.
Yeah. So my show looks fairly empty, but it's normally overflowing because I took some of my omnibuses down when I was writing for inspiration. So, but anyway, I have been, when I was little, I got into Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie was a big influence on me when I was a kid. I got into it more through the movies and the TV shows. It was the Justice League show. It was stuff like that. And I got older and I started getting more into it. And I had heard of the comics, but I had never really taken that leap. And then I would get into everything adjacent. So, okay, Dark Knight comes out in when I'm in 2nd grade, and somewhere between 2nd and 3rd. And then they start releasing all these Lego Batman sets around this time. And so I really start diving into Batman. And I remember I was at my uncle's dentist office, and they had this gaming magazine for really looking back, this actually had a big influence. It was, no one probably remembers this, some Game Informer or whatever magazine. They had character profiles of all the Lego Batman characters, and I ripped the sheets out. Your
uncle's like, no, Vaughn.
No, he was like, who cares? And you're the only one that cares about Lego Batman here. So I did. So I ripped them out. and I started like studying these characters. And so then I kind of got into like, well, where does this lore come from? And years passed on again, and now I'm at this new school in like 6th grade. And I get home from the first day at this new school, and on the TV is On Leather Wings, Batman the Animated Series, the pilot episode. Now, I didn't realize that just my luck that the day I'm like starting school is the day they're starting to play like every weekday a new episode of the animated series, and I didn't realize that was the pilot. So I started watching it. So I'd seen some when I was little, but I was like now really into it. And that same year, 2 other things happened. Batman Arkham City comes out.
The video game?
Yeah. And The Matrix 2 is coming out, and they're seeing comic ads on TV. And I'm like, that's interesting. So that Christmas, I decide I'm like, all right, most famous Batman comics. Because I had been finally, I'm like, I want to know where all this lore and stuff where's all the stuff that I love? There's more of that. Give me more of that. Let's see the source material. So I go and I finally decide on Batman Hush for my first comic.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I read that. I loved it, and then from there I go to like Long Halloween and stuff like that. And so Jeff Loeb is, of course, one of my favorite writers. And from there I just kind of started evolving, and I'd go into spurts where I was really into comics. But it wasn't until when I decided to really start doing long runs instead of graphic novels, I would say it was I was in college. And for some reason, I had this itch that I needed to scratch, and that was I just felt like reading X-Men. And so,
from the beginning,
well, that was where I had to figure out. So I decided.
I was like, "Where do you pick up X-Men?"
I'll tell you where you pick up X-Men. Same place I tell everyone else. Same place. So my mom, actually, funny enough, high school friend of lab partner of hers, ended up producing the first 2 X-Men movies. So he's a family friend. I asked him, I'm like, all right.
What?
Because he's a genuine comic book fan. Like, and I go, what do you recommend? He goes, Giant Size X-Men #1. That's where you start. Then read Claremont's run. So I go, okay. Well, when he tells me that, I'm going to listen. And I immediately was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm almost done with Claremont's run. It's been years, but that run, it was reading that run. And seeing story after story after story after story, new idea. And I was, majoring in filmmaking at the time. And I was like, well, I can actually do my big budget ideas here. I don't have to worry about like, oh God, I'm filming a scene with 5 people. I'm still over budget. I got to cut one of the people. Comics, if you want to, just tell them to draw that. And that's it. It was an independent comic scene that I was learning of. I was like, not only can I do this, but I can own the rights. Let's go. And,
let's go.
So one of my ideas I had when I was in 2nd grade, I decided to revive. And so I did.
My devil's there. Haven't seen you in a while.
And so I decided to do that. I decided to revive this idea. It needed a lot of work, a lot of polishing, but I decided I'm going to really focus on this. It was funny enough when I was at film schools when I decided I want to go into comics.
Vaughn, we haven't talked before, but my beginning was in I was in production as well. I was in a different area, but I was choreographing fight scenes, and
that's awesome.
I just wrote a short film for my fight team so we could show off some of the things that we could do. And the production company was like, hey, we would love if you wrote some things for us too. And that's how I got started. So I feel you where I'm like, for people that know how much production is, where it's like, that is so much work and effort and fundraising, and people will let you down. And then it's like, you got to get into locations, and then it rains on you and you got to reschedule and you're up until 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's like, comics is easier to us because we know like to put the thing in real life is so much time and effort. So I feel you where it's like, oh my God, I can just be like, here's this crazy idea I have. And the artist is like, okay. And they draw it.
Yeah. It's like, what you don't understand is it's like, I'm talking to people in the audience, is it's like, okay, there's a scene. It's just 3 people in a house. That's a short film. That's not going to be that bad. Okay. You got to have a lighting department. You got to have makeup. You got to have wardrobe. You got to have, 3 different actors. You have to make sure you feed them. You have to make sure you have the sound. And I love it. And I'm not done with filmmaking, but I'm focusing on comics right now.
Yeah.
it's so much. And what I like, and it wasn't even just that, because it could be cheaper with comics, but in the day, if I didn't love the medium, because novels, well, although I am doing some novel related stuff, but you know, if I didn't love comics, that'd be its own thing. But I really, for a time, I kind of liked it, but I started really looking at comics in a way I hadn't before.
Yes.
Where I really started to appreciate the mastery, because now that I always wanted to write, but now that I was really taking writing seriously as a craft, that I was really learning, you know, like an academic setting and what have you, I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And it was around this same time
I was like, what are you looking for on that shelf? Because this is what I was going to ask you. Okay, so there's reading comics and then there's studying comics.
Yeah.
Right? So where you're talking about your journey, it's like, now I'm reading to understand what makes this one work. What do I find interesting about it? How does the pacing work? You know, what does the art look like, et cetera, et cetera. So which ones were you reading for research at that point?
I here's the thing. I find everything to be research in one way or another, because the truth is I pull from everything. If something is bad, I'm like, why is it bad?
Yeah.
Why is it bad? Like, let's do an autopsy. What went wrong here?
Right.
You know, I mean, there's so much time I've spent at All-Star Batman and Robin. Like, oh my God, what happened here? You know, but I will say around this time in college, a friend of mine who I met at film school, it was a summer program. I was at his house once, and his dad has all this comic book art around his house. I'm like, that's awesome. And later on, I'm like, you know, man, we're just casually you know, shooting. We're just talking. And I go, I'm considering doing comics. He goes, my dad's starting a comic company. I'm like, why haven't you told me this? He's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't think I will get me in contact right now. And he's like, I'll see what I can do. So I start bothering him. I'm bothering him. And then his dad goes, all right, we'll talk on. And I go, we're on the phone. We're talking about comics. He goes, yeah, I'm doing this indie comic. I go, you know what's crazy?
Why'd you put that away? Show us what you were.
I'm going to.
Okay.
So I go. I hear that. You know, I swear I mentioned this. He's just one of my favorite writers. Go, yeah, I hear Chuck Dixon's doing a lot of indie stuff. He goes, oh yeah, he's you're gonna be working on his book. You're gonna be an editor. And I'm like, oh my God.
Okay.
Well, he didn't say editor. He actually just said giving feedback, and then I learned that's like basically what an editor is.
Right.
But yeah, my first book was Hunter Ninja Bear. Let me adjust the focus real quick. I worked on this.
There you are.
And that was the first comic script I ever read. So I was like, oh, so that's what it looks like. And then what I found interesting about comics compared to any other medium, like screenwriting is so strict. They'll be like, what are you doing? You can't write how your character feels. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, no. Get to the point. That's the director's job. That's the actor's job. I'm like, all right. But comics, you could say as much or as little as you want. You could do just like I'm learning about Marvel method. There are people that will just do summaries and be like, yeah, man, just draw that and then I'll fill it in later. Or you could have people who are like crazy detailed with panel by panel, or like go on about the mood. And I was like, this is so weird. And it was like a hard medium to learn to write, because a lot of it is also communication. And that's why I refuse to have, if my artist, even though we don't even talk on the phone that much, we normally just message. But if I know I can't communicate with my artist, I'm not going to work with them.
Right. And it's interesting to me how they all communicate differently. So like when I was working with Marco, who did the first 4 of my book, the first 4 issues, he was reading the screenplay, because my book was written as a movie, right? And so he just used that, and he would panel, and we would talk about it, but a lot of it, you know, was just communication, like you said. And now I have Gilbert Perez attached, and he's the other way, where he was like, I really want the comic book method, page 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel, you know what I mean? Like, give me description what's happening in each panel. And so I've had to adapt that way. So it's like, there's so many different ways you can do comics, and it really depends on the relationship between the writer and the artist and what works best. So I love that that's a thing, because like you said, script writing is like exterior daytime. This is who's here. This is how old they are. This is what they're wearing. This is what happens in, you know, and then the dialogue. And that's the method. That's it. Like you don't get to change it. So it's interesting to me how fluid comics can be. So what was the first story you decided that you wanted to make?
The first one I said I want to make was now called Phenomenova. It was back when I was in second grade, and my infinite wisdom came with the name Lightning Lad for a character, only to find that was taken
Darn.
later. So then I changed it multiple times and is now called Phenomenova. But it was second grade. It was an idea for a superhero movie, which is why, really looking back, I mean, I've kind of, I don't want to say I've embraced the roots, but you know, it was a lot of a combination of what I was into. It was there was like but it was basically, eventually it evolved. It was always about a kid who gets struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal, and he gets lightning powers and super speed. But the idea developed and developed and developed into what it is now, where now it's a story. Same thing, but it's set 20 years after World War III, and now he's training to be part of a team for the next generation of superheroes is what is happening.
Cool.
And yeah, maybe I should add more to because the mailing list page is like really just there for me to until I get it. Like if you want to see all the art and stuff, I apologize. That's on the campaign pages that are now closed. The variant covers, I printed some extras because they're campaign exclusive, but I have some extras that will be marked up in price to be sold at conventions. And I'm pissed because 3 of my cover artists are going to be at New York Comic Con. And I was like, it would be great if I had books to give them. Oh, they're like 1 week off.
No.
1 week. They're like 1 or 2 weeks off. That's incredible. Great.
That's how it always goes for me too, honestly, where I'm like, I have 2 big cons coming this month. My books will be done after the cons are over.
After the cons are over, of course they
Every
will. Well, you have some stuff. I will say this is probably the last con I'll be at where I won't have product to sell, which is going to be great.
But I have so much back stock. It's like, that's good. I will just sell what I have and then, we'll start again. But just so people can see some of the art, because this looks amazing. First of all, who is your artist team? And then how did you guys meet?
So Philip and I met, I actually just like posted something on Facebook. And I remember at the time I was like, I'm so used to just like every time I'd be like, hey, a film student here looking for work. And there'd be like nothing. So I was just used to, I just post it and then I go out one night, like hang out with friends. And then my phone's blowing up. I'm like, oh my God, there's people from all over the globe that are reaching out. They want to draw from me. Okay.
That's cool.
And, Philip, I remember I had like a huge list and I was crossing names going through. And Philip was someone who early on was like, this guy is something special. But I honestly, and I interviewed him, I confessed to him, like, I got to be honest, because I kind of, I was so indecisive. And part of it was, I was like, I got to make sure my script is really good before I hand this over to him. And he liked it, but I was like, no, it needs work. So I went back and I revised my script and I revised it. And finally I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with it. And I did.
Wow.
Now here we are. Issue 2 is almost done. So issue 2 is going to be 24 pages. I'm going to do 24 or 28 or so page issues going forward.
Yeah.
But issue 2, I'm sorry, is 4 pages away from being done in terms of pencils, inks, and colors. So my plan is as soon as this one is in, because you could just join the mailing list and then Rebel Oasis Studios is going to be the name of the website because it's my company. You will be able to buy the book. Of course, issue 2. Listen, I was like, either I could sit for 3 months and wait for a good month, or I could just launch it. Because November, December, and January are considered bad months. But listen, that's just how it's happening. Issue 2 is coming out during that time.
You're a brave man. Yeah. I'm postponing because I'm with you where it's like, because things are late, I missed the window. So do I wait? And we're going to wait until February, but that's
but I understand that. But I decided, you know what? I'll wait for like issue 3 or something. If anything, what I'm relying on is no one else would launch during this time. That's crazy.
That's it.
And it's a cheaper book too.
It's a lot less competition.
Yeah. And if anything, you could be like, I already have my ads planned. Give the gift of Phenomenova this holiday season. Nice. And with that issue 1, you will be able to get. It'll be on my website. I might even have to run back to the printer for it. because here's the thing, I have a big mailing list, and I've had people in person that are like, "How do I get your book? I get your emails." I'm like,
"Hello."
I'm like, "Do you read the emails?"
You read the email.
I literally make videos explaining it like step by step, and they go, I just don't get it.
Some people need that personal touch. They just do. I have a specific backer that will call me after I launch, and usually I'm on a live stream because I do a launch party, but they'll call me every time I launch and they'll be like, help me do this, and I'll walk them through how to pick what they want, and they back it, but they need that personal touch from you.
Customer service is an important. I remember the first day I was like, wow, a lot of people didn't back me day one, and then I was like, day
awesome.
2 I was basically just my customer service day, which I did make money day 2. But yeah, there's gonna be a day 1 trading card.
Nice. You gotta love those.
Yeah, because it was gonna be my 20K stretch goal.
Yeah,
and that was did not go through. It's
right.
on Grey Wolf. So because of that, I'm like, all right, well, I'm still using this. I'm not gonna not use it. So hold on, let me see if I could share it.
This is the mailing list, everybody. So it's here in the chat. That's I'll put this up here. Share this tab.
Yeah, we are 5 away from 700 people on the mailing list.
So all you do is enter your email address, and this is the best way to follow along since they don't have a live campaign. You'll get alerts on everything that's happening with Phenomenova, but you have other stuff that's going on too, which we'll get to. But I really want to ask some questions about this because
go ahead.
It's just the art is amazing. And by the way, I saw that on the Kickstarter. You had George Medina involved?
You know that guy?
Oh, that guy. Let me just say.
Yeah, George.
Yeah, I know that dude, man.
Oh, hi.
He's a good friend of mine. So
yeah, George is a good dude. Yeah, you're a lot of people have said that. So George, I'm gonna see at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
Love George.
He's gonna be there for sure.
So George, so my first published work was for Phil Russert. It was 10. I had this screenplay that I had written, and the only part I was really loving, there was some good stuff, but the one I was really loving was the opening scene. And I was like, oh, this fits into 10 pages if I break this screenplay down into comic book. And so I did. And then, boom, there we are. So I won that. And then George was brought on to letter it. I was like, I liked his lettering there. Let me bring him on for this one. And George and I have become friends. He's great. He's going to letter issue 2 as well.
Nice.
Yeah, George is the man. So I got him on my book. And yeah. So George, that's how I got in contact with him, is through Phil. He had already lettered something for me before, and I was like, why not? And I remember he actually put a lot of my fears to rest, because I was like, oh my God. I read, so I'm a Claremont fan. And so I like my dialogue.
Right. That's so hard.
I like my screenwriting, stuff. And thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was important, is I didn't want it to look like a first time book. It
doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be. And so I remember,
look at this, Carrie.
It was to the point where I wanted an artist that was good enough for my writing, and then I found one, and then I was like, my writing needs to match. And eventually I kept going back, and I think it's good. And George has showed me up and down. I'm like, it's good.
What's this, Carrie? Carrie says it's on the Zelda fan you had on before.
I am a Zelda fan, but I don't remember talking about it on here. But I am a Zelda fan.
This is the first time Vaughn's been on the show. Yeah, that's not a sunset.
No, I think
maybe in the second one. The second one is a sunset. Yeah. You were right, but I'm
the first one is no. That one is. I mean, that was exciting when I decided to set it. It was like I came up with the idea. My friend in high school, was like, do something different with your world. And I thought about it, and I wanted to make it set 20 years after World War III. World War III, you see there's a team of heroes that fought. It was like almost like an arms race of superhumans. And we've since survived that. And now it's almost like the new heroes are going to forever be in the shadow of that. And I did, as I was coming with the backstory, I do absolutely want to do a superhero series set during World War III called Crusader Corps.
Yes. Okay. That was one of my questions. So thank you.
So I definitely want to do that.
But can you tell us how World War III started? Is that something that's part of your pitch, or is it a spoiler?
Yeah, no, I could tell you. You learn about it very, like, literally on the first page. So, there was this in World War III. Now his face is obscured, but there's a man named Lord Dragonfire. So, he could manipulate fire, like he could firebend, pyrokinesis, whatever, and he basically used his powers to overthrow the Chinese government. And with some other superhumans, he formed some allies and eventually kickstarted World War III. There was kind of a superhuman arms race going on. And there was a lot of crises going on that I'll detail in the prequel. But the gist of it is basically this guy is their main threat for World War III. China and Russia really just jumpstart the whole war.
Yeah.
A lot of World War III is like Asia based. And so that's really where things happen.
Hey, Carrie, real quick, this campaign is not live. We're just showing off the art here. And then if you would like to follow along, this is the mailing list. So this is what Vaughn would like if you want to follow along, because there is going to be an issue 2. It's almost done. And he's going to launch it this fall. This is the best place to do it is from here and put your email address, and he will notify you guys of updates. So
yeah, I'll notify you on the campaign for issue 2, and then issue 1 will be on my website as soon as it's sent out to the backers. People will be able to buy it. I do want to make a digital version too. Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear. Here's the thing. I knew no matter when I ended the campaign that people would want the book, and that's fine.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I want people to,
Carrie. Well, I mean, like, you can still get it. Vaughn is around. It's not like he doesn't exist, Carrie. You can just reach out, and I'm sure you can get
it's almost printed. Yeah, as soon as it's on the website. So just keep up on the mailing list. As soon as it's on the website, it'll be out. And then issue 2 is only 4 pages away from being done. I've written the first 8 issues, and they're going to be shorter. So this one is 65 pages, 68 pages total. 65 the story, and then from there I want them to be shorter because I wanted a solid chunk for the first issue. I didn't want you to have like just a little bit. I wanted you to feel like that was satisfying, and I want more. And there was a certain point I wanted to hit.
I didn't realize it was that much. Wow, 65 pages. That's a lot.
And coming up with a name for a lightning-based superhero, turns out a lot of them were taken. Like initially, it was Lightning Lad, then it was going to be Lightning for a bit, and I was like, that's too generic. And then I was like, what about Lord Lightning? And then I remember coming on a live stream and saying that to some friends of mine, and they laughed. The whole panel laughed when I said Lord Lightning, and I'm
kind of like what I just did.
Yeah. So there's a reference in the book.
Dang it.
If you go through, there's a scene where he has a notebook. It's like a montage, and you see Lord Lightning crossed off, Lightning Lad crossed off, a bunch of my old names crossed off.
Do you offer international shipping, Vaughn? My friend Carrie here is in the UK, so a lot of times she's like, Laurie's dangling the carrot. I can't get things.
Yes. Now, there's not much I could do about the international shipping costs. I really try. But it will be, if you're not the first international backer, I've had a few, you absolutely can. Yeah. Just, there's obviously those shipping costs. I'm going to make it digital as well. But yeah, you absolutely can get it physical.
By the way, I wanted real quick say a shout out to the chat that's on Pilled. I see you guys. I see you having a good time over there. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. So thank you. We're going to continue. All right. So what are you doing? You're channeling your inner Karen. I demand to see your manager, Laurie. Well, you can take it up with me after the show. So in the story, so we have this young man. He gets struck by lightning while holding this rock. This asteroid, did it come from space? Like, is it
that was funny. It was, I initially, to be honest, I didn't really care for a while where the crystal came from, but everyone cared, and I knew the characters would care. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll come with an explanation. So I have one, but it's not going to be revealed in issue 1. But I played with a lot of different things. And I've had people like literally call me and say, "Hey, here's an idea for it," and I'm like, "All right, I'll think of something." And so yeah, the crystal, as far as my main character knows, he finds it in a cave, a mysterious cave.
Yeah.
And he's like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And then he gets struck by lightning while holding it. But the origins of the
Like
crystal
immediately? Like you walked out of
soon
the cave?
after. No, not immediately. Soon after. There's a few scenes I wanted to get to know him a bit in his personal life before I change his personal life forever.
Gotcha.
But yeah, when he gets struck with the crystal, that's when suddenly he finds his lightning powers and super speed. So he could channel the electricity and run lightning fast, or he could I want him to have both those powers.
Yeah.
So his lightning and super speed. And Galvanite was the name I decided on. Initially, I actually had considered, because if you notice, he doesn't have his main superhero costume in issue 1. He has like a makeshift one. So actually, part of me was debating he earns his superhero name, and I decided, no, why don't I just have it? And so I was like, Galvanite, which Galvanite is an awesome name that is almost like too cool for the character, which is kind of the point, is that he thinks he's better than he is right now. He's premature. You give an impulsive person super speed, you're going to have problems.
How old is this character?
He's 15.
That would explain that. All 15-year-olds are like that. Like, I'm hot stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I was, when I was deciding the age, I was like, oh, and I said, let's do freshman in high school. That way I have all 4 high school years. And if I decide I want to do a time skip, if I'm sick of writing in high school, I can always do that. But I figured I'd rather give myself more. Yeah. How long ago did they book Disappearance? It was a while ago, I think.
Oh, gosh. What? 2 months? 3 months?
Yeah. I was hoping issue 2 would be funding, but that's fine. It's, if anything, I'm building up anticipation. So either way, I knew I'd have something to promote. I thought for sure that I would have issue 1 in hand, but
yeah. Dang it. It doesn't matter. Come on the show and talk about what you do. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing, and this is, a lot of people are in this bad habit of, I'm not campaigning, I'm not on shows. It's like you should be on shows consistently, so that people can find you and hear about what you do, not just when you're campaigning. So that way you don't have to like build it up and then disappear, build it up and then disappear. It just should be consistent. So what's this? I don't know if you and Pops tried to share the live in Facebook group, but it says content unavailable. Dang it. I tried to share it there. Awesome. Thank you, StreamYard. Pops is on it. He'll fix it. So, Vaughn, I wanted to ask you so in this picture right here, we have all of these characters together. So I'd like to know like who they are, what their powers are, how did they all meet? Like there's a lot going on here.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the things. That was one of the most expensive spread just because I had to pay for all the designs, and I decided I don't care. Most of them only show up in there. There's a few, 2 that have more prominent roles, but you'll have to see. One obviously shows up in that other double page spread, but I was like, I wanted to pay for these designs, and I have ideas for more characters, but I said, let's keep it a smaller group. So on the left, I'll start bottom left. You have the Phoenix Senshi. So she's like a super ninja almost. She's like got enhanced strength, speed, senses, all of that. She is from Japan, a clan that is known as the Phoenix Clan, and she basically I don't know. You get more of her backstory. I have that I'm saving for now, but I will say that she is intricately tied to Lord Dragonfire in a way.
Okay. That's
so there is definitely a past there that I'm looking to explore, but she's part of this hidden clan. And then, of course, behind her, you have Madame Magnet. So she's a mix of like Joan of Arc meets Magneto meets Captain America meets.
Look who it is.
What's up, George? Meets.
Were your ears burning? We were talking about you.
Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat a little bit. So she has this metallic hat that can also be a shield, and she could attract and repel metal. She could use knives and attract and repel them. So she's from France. So then you have, I wouldn't want an international lineup. And then, of course, we've got Scion. So Scion, he's a psychic, a telepath, and he's like a super useful asset in combat. He's kind of like the field leader of the group.
That's interesting. Usually the psychic ones are not also fighters. You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
decided, and initially he wasn't going to be, and I was like, no, let's make him. Nothing was really working. I said, let's make him jacked. Let's make him in the battle. Let's make him.
Like he's in charge, and he can also read your mind. So
Yeah.
don't
So
complain.
he's got a gun. Sure, you don't see the gun in this. It's in the final double page spread in the book. Let me just double check. Now I'm like, because there was a version that didn't have the gun. I want to make sure that there is a gun. Yeah, so that's what he ends up doing. And then you have Golden Gallant, who is
like, you have a freaking gargoyle back there.
Yeah, so every universe had their like version of Superman. That's initially what he was gonna be, and I was like, it's boring. Like everyone does that. And I said, like, let's make him like it's magic armor. And I was like, well, let's make it golden. Let's make him like a literal angelic knight in shining armor as their ideal for this universe.
Vaughn, he looks like Goldar from Power Rangers.
I think someone else mentioned that to me.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
he's much cooler. Yeah.
Goldar. Yeah, I see it a little bit. But yeah, totally unintentional. But I was like, let's have angel wings.
Yeah.
Let's make him this figure, and that's why you have that double page spread. Is I wanted it to be like he is the ideal to strive towards, to the point where there's a double meaning. Galvanite was in large part because our main character was so inspired by him that he wants to be kind of a knight like him. And it's almost in a way a joke. It's ironic because you see he's a kid in a hood and he's a knight. Like, okay, you know, that he wants to be like him.
That's cool.
And then you have Zoberin. She's German. She's a witch / sorceress.
Okay.
And then you have initially it was Boom Boy, but then I got Kurtis. I decided to switch it to Kid Kaboom. He was like a teenage superhero. So he's kind of like Gambit, I guess, but he doesn't charge objects really. He just shoots explosive blasts, like energy blasts that blow up on impact.
And I'm going to assume he's an American.
Yeah, it's American. Yeah. I gave it away.
America.
Yeah.
Well, then he's blowing stuff up, which is funny.
Yeah.
How old is that gentleman?
So I think I had it where like he's 15 there.
Okay.
And the Phoenix Senshi, even though in this picture I imagined her to be this, I imagine is towards the, well, I don't say specifically when, but she's older here. But the Phoenix Senshi was young when she joined the war. She was the first teenage superhero at like 15, and then Boom Boy came after her.
Gotcha.
So there was precedent for female for teenage superheroes in this world, but you'll learn that it was a time of war, and B, they were actually better prepared than this kid.
So who was training these kids? I mean, they start out at like 15, and it's like who? They're just in a time of war. These kids are going to know what to do, or is there some group like, you know, we had Professor X who had a school and he was teaching these kids? But
yeah, I mean, a bit of both. It was like World War III. It was kind of like, oh God, we got people from everywhere had different backstories. They kind of came together. Whereas Phenomenova, which is the name of the next team is going to be called Phenomenova. Now the funny thing is you don't actually see them in issue 1. You'll get a glimpse at one of the members in issue 2, and then you won't see the full team until issue 3. But Phenomenova, one of the heroes in that double page spread, I won't say who, is going to be training the next generation.
Okay.
So you'll learn at the end of issue 1. That's why, even though I have issue 2 covers and everything, I want the first people to see it to be, oh my God, I'm reading it. That's who's training them. And then boom, then I'll release all the issue 2 covers. So I don't want to give the backers that first surprise as to who it's going to be training them. But yeah, you kind of see the next generation but in terms of World War III, it was a mixed bag. It was so the Phoenix Senshi, for example, was trained beforehand. She was kind of almost like from birth known she was going to be a warrior. Now, did she know she was going to fight in World War III? No.
No.
But did she know she was going to have to fight so young? No, but you know, things change, and especially, and this is, I remember I was actually on a stream where it was an interesting stream where we were debating the ethics of teenage superheroes, and my whole point was, if you're in a world war setting, and let's say you got someone with Superman's powers, are you gonna really be like, yeah, but he's 50? It doesn't. Do you know how many lives he'll save if you employ someone with those powers? I'm sorry, I'm not waiting another 3 years for him to turn 18.
You know, and it's in history, kids have been in wartime setting and have been utilized in multiple wars. There's always been children's soldiers. They're just used for specific things. I mean, again, they don't have superpowers in real life, so they're doing things like carrying messages or being spies and like overhearing things or transporting ammo, stuff like that. But when you have that kind of power, like you said, do you have a responsibility to go into the fight? Can you do that to a 15-year-old? And also, do they make good decisions?
Well, and that's what I wanted to explore is, so I imagine this guy almost projects that stuff. You have these, literally, I had these characters shining ideals for World War II. And then it's like him in the present, it's like he projects that onto himself. And it's like, dude, you're not needed right now. You know, but he's someone he grew up with a father who was a war hero. And like he wants to be like him. He wants to be, and he's also a very adventurous kid. You know, that's why he finds the crystal. He's just cave exploring, right?
Yeah.
That's who he is. And now he has like everything he ever wants. And the question is he going to cause more harm than good? So his first thing when he gets powers after showing off to his friend and everything, it's almost like I wanted to start with this crazy World War III before diving into baseline superhero origin story. Where he's got his friend that he's showing his powers to and all of that. And then suddenly there's this heist at a nuclear reactor. And he's like, I can rush in there. I'll stop it. And his friend's like, well, maybe let the professionals handle this. He's like, I got this. And, you know, we'll see the things of that.
Don't blow up the nuclear power plant by
accident.
Yeah.
So we'll see, you know, is a risky, you know, he's going in and he's kind of just trying to do his thing, but obviously he's in way over his head, and you know, there's going to be consequences for some of the stuff he does.
Consequences. Oh, and now I got to do it. Hold on, let me find it. Consequences. There you go. That was for everybody in the chat. Hope you enjoyed that. Carrie would like to know, will there be merch?
I was just writing that down. I do want to do it. I have to figure that out. What would
kind of merch?
Or
how about we ask Carrie? Carrie, what kind of merch?
Yeah, what kind of merch do you want? The customers always said, I have ideas.
Because we always have ideas, but it's like we never know. I always poll my audience. Like, I'm going to put new merch on. Here's some of my ideas. Pick what you want. You know what I mean? Because if there's one idea that stands out with the crowd, we're doing that one. As opposed to I'm making pens and nobody backs them.
Yeah.
So tell us, Carrie, what you're looking for. What's some of your ideas, Vaughn? What are some of your ideas?
Yeah. So, you know, some of my ideas, I mean, I'd love to do hats, and then for shirts, I don't know what specifically I'd want. I'd have the main cover and the variants. You know, there's other things I could do. I would love to do stickers, you know.
Yeah. Stickers tend to do well, and they're easy to ship with a comic because they're flat.
Yeah.
Bookmarks are good too. People like
yeah. That's some ideas. So like with the campaigns, for example, I have trading cards already. But that was for the campaign, so I'm gonna have issue 2. Actually, I could share my
Yeah, show me.
Do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah.
All right. So for this is going to be the 20K stretch goal for issue 1, but I'm going to make it the day 1 for issue 2. Here we go. This is this trading card will be if you back issue 2 day 1.
Nice.
So yeah. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm. And when do you think the next book is launching? Give us just a roundabout.
Ideally, late November.
Okay.
Late November was my plan. Yeah.
All right. Carrie says beanies, zip-up hoodies, stickers, magnets, coasters. If you have any characters that have an emblem, that is a keychain. I like the emblem keychain. That's cool.
Oh, all right.
You can make those out of like a rubberized. He's taking a picture.
Yeah, I'm taking a picture of that.
Tote bags. Tote bags would show off the art. Carrie, I just did some tote bags. Did you read my mind? Are we sharing brainwaves? Like I literally finished them yesterday. But beanies, that's an idea. Or what you could do even, Vaughn, is do like a iron-on patch. You could get those made and then iron them onto a beanie. That would be easier than trying to get a beanie made. Zip-up hoodies are expensive to make, Carrie, but I mean, hey, that it is what it is. Stickers, magnets, coasters, those are all good too. You can find those for pretty inexpensive and are easier to ship. So lots of good stuff there. Thank you for your input, Carrie. Tote bags. Go see my page for further details. I did too. Yo,
What's going
Pixel
on?
Critter, what's up, man? All right, so we have Phenomenova, and we just happened to catch Vaughn in between campaign for 1. We don't have the book quite yet. Campaign 2 will be launching soon.
Yeah.
What's the other thing you sent me? What's Reapers in Pursuit? Talk about that.
So
What the heck?
it's spooky season, so I decided to kind of get into it. And I was like, you know what? Years ago, I had written through the first storyline of what was then called Living Legends. In fact, I have these back when it was called Living Legends. And
Wait,
then
go back. I missed it.
Living Legends.
Cool.
So I changed it. It wasn't colored yet. But then I decided to change it. And
look.
Phenomenova.
Laser engraved patches. What are those, Brian? Brian Suddenly Old. What a funny name. I like it. Can do 2x3 vinyl Velcro laser engraved patches. Send us your information, Brian, so we can take a look at those.
So one of the things that I liked was I had wanted to dive into more prose writing. I like a lot of internet horror stories and what have you. And I had a friend, Allie, who was like, "Hey, we should do a short story collection." I'm like, "I'm so down. Let's do it. Let's just do it." And she's like, "Okay, perfect." And she knows formatting and all that stuff, and I don't. And I'm like,
Nice.
"All right, we'll figure that out." And so, Allie and Allie Sanguis, so we decided to launch it, and we're like, and I wrote a story recently. I had already a story I was sitting on. And a poem I was sitting on. I was like, let's just make something happen. And so we did. We made something happen. And right now, if you look at it, we've got a submission list, and we've got a mailing list for that too. Basically, Reapers in Pursuit is a story collection where it's about anything horror related has to deal with the themes of Reapers in Pursuit. It could be a thematic one. It could be something as simple as someone's dying and being chased, or the feeling of paranoia of being chased, or it could be the reverse side. And we're getting a bunch of writers on board so far. We've got, just me and Allie are both definitely doing stuff, but there will be others. So if you're interested in that, we have the short story collection. The deadline is Valentine's Day. Anyone is able to submit. Also, you can submit black and white artwork if you're an artist. And there's poems too. And basically what it's going to work, depending on how many people submit or what you do, will break down percentages of the campaign that you can get. So
gotcha. So this is writers and artists. Is it graphic stories? Can you submit prose?
Prose, yeah. So it's not gonna be a comic book.
Okay, yeah.
So I wanted to do something different, and so I am. I remember when I was in college, towards the end of college, for some reason, and it's usually when it's not that prompted, I just felt this fit of passion. I was like, I had been recommended the story "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream," and I decided to read it. And I started getting into it, and I was so inspired by the fact that he just wrote that in one night.
Wow.
And it's one of the greatest horror stories ever. And I wrote my own story called The Dragon Feeder, and I was really into it. And then some people read it and they really liked it. And I decided I want to do another one of those. So I finished the Phenomenova story arc, all 8 issues, and I said, you know what? I want to just write my next thing. And so I did. And now I have an excuse where instead of it being like I have to wait for budget for artists or whatever, I could just write. Awesome. I have free reign to just write. I have free reign to add. I have something else to market, something else to advertise, something else to talk about in the Halloween months. And if I ever feel like it, I can just write something and know that I can publish it. And so that was something I wanted to do. And you could, if you have the submission form, you could pull that up and it has all the information. And that is till Valentine's Day you have. But I decided let's just announce it right away. And give us some time to market it, give us some time for people to write it.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're going to once we have all the submissions, we're going to get it together, and then we could crowdfund the book.
I have questions.
Go ahead.
Tell us.
Is there any kind of theme to this? Or is it just...
Well, he said reapers.
Yeah, so, well, it doesn't have to be an actual, like, reaper, like, with a scythe or anything.
Right.
Could be anything. You know, I wrote about it really just needs to the idea is reapers in pursuit of something. It could be someone evading like death in some way or an impending threat of some kind. It could be, you know, if you look at again the submission page, if you have the link, details all of this. Really the kinds of things it could be. You could even be from the perspective of a reaper, quote unquote, hunting someone down. It could be, there's a bunch of different ways you can explore these themes. And I wanted to give kind of free reign. And I feel like in general, it's a good enough theme where it's malleable. Like I've written 2 stories that are very fundamentally different from each other. Neither of which deal with an actual reaper, you know.
Well, you know me, I don't claim to be any kind of a writer, but I have writer friends and I have ideas.
That's good.
You see what I'm saying? And I just turn an idea onto them and go, hey, man, this would be great for Vaughn's book. You see what I'm saying? Do something.
Yeah.
Limitations.
Here, do you want me? Let me drop this in here too.
So this is available for anyone to submit to.
What are the like length limitations? How? You know?
All right. So in here we've got so for short stories it's anywhere from 1,000 to 600 words. You just got to sign into Google, and then you can do that. And then there's the poems. Now here's the thing: if you're a little bit over, like I'm sure we won't kill you. You know what I mean? Like now I'm allowed to do what I want because I'm publishing it.
You are.
So,
that's
right.
Being in charge, isn't it?
So like I wrote one that's like almost 7,000, and I'm like, I'm publishing it. You know what I mean? Like you guys don't get my leeway
for it. You put in what you want.
Yeah, if you guys don't get my leeway, but
right.
You know,
This is the joy of being in charge, though. See, it's just like, you know.
So
like,
I can enforce the rules or not enforce the rules whenever I want. But you know, generally try to follow the guidelines. It would make our jobs much easier.
That's what I'm saying. When you're in charge, you get to do whatever you want. Like I popped in, asked my question. Now I'm gonna pop back out and give Laurie your show back. Bye.
Bye.
Right.
That's why his name is Pops. So here's the link, everybody, down here. For the actual submission. That's what we're looking at right here. So I left that for everybody.
So you can join the mailing list to keep up to date on it. And then if you want to actually participate in it, or if you know anyone that you think you want, or you're like, I want someone to write for this, there you go.
Yeah. I know a lot of horror writers myself, and they're not all comic book related. So I will definitely be promoting this. This will be fun.
Yeah.
Psychological horror, cosmic horror, supernatural horror, body horror.
Yeah, any kind of horror.
Survival horror and dark fantasy. Grim tales about mythical reaper hunting souls across the realms or universes. There's a lot there for people to work with, man. I'm already getting ideas just from reading the prompts.
Well, if you want to submit, you're more than welcome to.
Hey, I like it.
So
maybe I will. And I have until February, which is cool. Short story, black and white liner. So if I since I'm comic book, I would click black and white line art.
Oh, if you want to do a comic book?
Right, like if I did like a 4-page short or like an 8-page short. Like
I don't think we didn't have that as a thing for this.
Oh.
We just had writing and
So if I did a short story, it would show up as a short story in the anthology. Or since I know artists, like what if myself and Gilbert were like, hey, we put together an 8-page short for you? We could
I'd have to
probably
talk.
want to submit the story first for approval.
Yeah,
and
well,
then we'd
because
have to
that would
talk
be
through it.
hard because we're making it a book, and it's not going to be comic book size. So I'd have to.
Gotcha.
I mean, it would. I guess you could do like a tiny. I don't know. I'd have to
Or-
ask.
You could do something like
Maybe I could do a short
Rose.
story comic collection later down the line.
that would be something different. But we could always do like, what if it was like prose with like a picture in there?
That could be fun. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd be down to try if there's like a picture in there. Yeah. If you want to get, that's one of the things we played with. If you want to somehow like work with an artist and almost like submit together something.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm doing another project I'm working on. My buddy goes, hey, I'm really into the son of, he goes, he really likes Steranko, did this book called Chandler. And he's like, that's like a crime pulp noir or something like that. And he goes, I want to do an illustrated novel. And I go, okay. He wants to do something based on the Son of Sam killer. So that's another thing I'm writing right now. I'm kind of just writing a lot. I'm trying to just really expand my catalog. I love superheroes and going all in on that. But now that I have the 8 issues, I'm not saying I'm not going to revise it all. But I'm like, let's keep the writing train going and then have multiple projects and then come what may.
I like that you're crossing genre too.
Yeah.
I feel like as writers, a lot of times we get almost like typecast. You know what I mean? Like I write horror, but I also can write other stuff if people would give me a shot. You know what I mean? Like I've written stuff for Big Dog Inc. and that was a Western, completely Western, no horror.
Yeah.
I've been writing some stuff for Gemini Force, which is just like silly and hijinks, like Saturday morning cartoon hijinks for these 2 space. How do I explain it? Gemini Force is the clones of 2 80s rock and roll stars in outer space.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then hijinks, but they're all standalone issues, so it's like you don't have a overall arc or anything. So, but I mean, so you're doing superhero and you're doing some horror. Would you ever do anything else?
Oh my god, yeah. I have tons of ideas. Yeah, I mean, I want to do that 10-page Western. I would love to do that full book. So it's like a quote unquote bad girl book. It's like a Western,
Westerns are making a comeback, man.
Hot chick gunslinger. It's like set in the first 10-page short story. It's set in a futuristic West. It's called Land of the Lawless. Let me see if I have it here.
Yeah, show me. Because I write Western too. I love Westerns.
I got it right here.
He's got to go, guys. He'll be back. It's been like the Karen show all over again. You back? You launched a book where you wrote other genres. Really? I appreciate that. That's the scary thing, Carrie. Usually when writers, they build an audience for one project and then they start something new, you think that your audience would follow. A lot of them don't. It's like you have to start over building your audience from scratch when you jump from project to project.
That's why I almost want to have like multiple. That's why I've kind of said I want to do multiple things out the gate. So that way, wherever they go, they could follow us.
I pushed the wrong button. Sorry, Vaughn.
Land of the Lawless is this 10-pager. And then I want to do something with this and really expand the story. So that's another one I'd want to do.
Well, Westerns are hot right now, man. I've seen a lot of them. Yes, Terry Parr's Gemini Force. Are you familiar, Lou? Terry Parr is amazing, by the way. Does good stuff. So yeah, I wrote a short for Terry Parr, and I need to do another one so he can release another issue. So he usually has 2 stories in one issue since they're short. So I'm doing some crazy things. I love ruining someone when they love showing their chops in other genres. John Dexter comes to mind. Yeah, he does a few different things as well. So Western, horror, and superhero. I love it. What about romance?
Romance. If I had a good idea, I often generally if the romance is within something else.
Yeah.
But listen, if a good idea comes to me, it comes to me. But I can tell you my massive list of ideas, I don't really have a romance.
I don't either. I don't know. it's just I can't do it. People are
It's
like,
not
"You
my
watch
genre."
The Notebook?" And I'm like, I will never watch The Notebook.
Never. Yeah, I've never watched it.
Like, no, it's not a thing. Just blow them up. We'll have some cool ass fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give me like a backdrop of like some explosive setting, like maybe in game, but
Yeah, we might have someone fall in love in the story, but that's about it. So, and then we'll just kill them because that's what we do.
yeah.
Carrie says, I love Path of the Pale Rider, but I'm backing you first before the project. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So if you wanted to write another genre, I'd totally be behind it, except romance. I can't read. Vaughn and I are with you, Carrie. We're with you.
Yeah.
We're just like, just save it, man. Give me some more explosions.
Yeah, it's got it. Listen, if the idea struck me, it struck me, but I don't. It has yet to. You know what I mean? It has yet to. I have a million ideas. That's currently not one of them. But yeah, I mean, horror is something I'd love to do. I'd love to do something with aliens because I do believe I'm a believer in aliens.
Friendly aliens, angry aliens, aliens that suck your blood.
Suck your blood, like vampire aliens?
I don't know.
Like Vampirella?
That would be cool. Make a vampire alien. But they're not sparkly.
They're not. Yeah. We don't do that.
Sparkly.
We don't do that.
Vampires.
Yeah. I mean, what about dude? I would love to do that. Yeah, I love Legend of Zelda. I've actually thought about that because one of the things I like about that series is it's like you have the basic through line is the same. Link, Zelda again in some form every couple thousands of years. The story restarts. And it's like they're loosely connected. And if you really follow the lore, there are connections between each games.
Yeah.
A lot of freedom for what you can do. I haven't played the newest one yet, where you actually get to play as Zelda. I really want to, but I haven't finished the last one. Yeah, I mean, that would totally be something I would do. I would love to do something Zelda related. I'm a big Zelda fan. So that would be something that kind of fantasy. And then what would be cool about it is you could pass the reins to someone else if I want to do something like that. And speaking of that, one idea I've had for a while is called usually it's like yes and or torch pass. I haven't decided, but basically the idea is like every 2 to 4 pages you get a different writer and or artist and continue the story. And I would just keep like get as many people involved as I can and just have like some fun with some story like that.
That's interesting. Everybody would have to know the canon and read previous stuff, though. Like, how far would you go with that?
Well, I'm saying that's a different idea. Is it would be like basically, hey, you want to join this 2-pager? All right, here are the previous pages. Go nuts with 2 pages, and then the next person has to carry it on. Like to the point where I'd be overseeing as editor. This is just a totally separate idea. And I'd be like, so someone could put their time into building up this character, and then if the next person wants to blow their head off, okay.
Like, you killed my character, Vaughn?
Yeah, but it's like too bad. You got paid for your 2 pages. Bye. Don't get attached.
You're like, man, I need to come back on, and my character's gonna come back as undead and shoot this other guy. Now we're gonna have a feud.
Yeah,
of course.
Why not?
This means war.
So what I do is I keep everyone for like maybe 2 pages max. So
yeah.
Sorry, you got to get in. You want to get in earlier, or you want to get in later.
It sounds like chaos. Controlled chaos in my mind, just because I've worked with writers and creators and I know how different everybody is. So I just know like someone would come in there and be like, I've killed everybody. Rats now rule the earth. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I'd have to think of it. That's why I have to be an editor. And like every once in a while, if I'm like,
you can't do that, please.
Yeah, you can't do that. Like you're just derailing the story.
Yeah.
Right. I the next person in the chamber. I'm like, yeah, all right, you gotta fix it. They just I let them go a little while. You know what? I'll write the next 2 pages. You know,
you are all fired. Vaughn's doing it himself. What? I'm sorry. Carrie and Lou. Carrie says his excitement for writing, you can't help but smile when you listen. And Lou says, I'm not into romance either. With anyone tries romance to me, I'm like, what are you doing? Blowhead off, loving it. Play Wolfenstein game and had to pause it when I threw a grenade and body parts in all directions.
Wolfenstein I haven't played.
Classic. I haven't played Wolfenstein forever. Are they still making those even?
Yeah, they had one a couple years ago.
Gosh, I remember playing that on freaking PC.
Yeah,
Old.
I haven't played any of them, but I know that they're still making them. That people love them.
That's funny. Ah, gosh, I haven't played. You play video games besides Zelda, Vaughn?
Yeah, I do.
What do you play?
I played Final Fantasy VII. I'm a huge fan of. In fact, if you look at my campaign, there's an homage cover to Final Fantasy VII.
Ooh.
Uh,
Which one? Let me go look. See, I'm not a huge Final. I have played it, but oh, is it this one? Maybe this one.
yeah, right here.
Alright.
The Final Fantasy VII homage cover.
Yeah.
So I've dressed as Cloud. I'm going to be dressing as him one day in New York Comic Con.
Yes.
A Cloud Strife. I did a 2-hour video essay on my channel, actually.
Really?
That was about Final Fantasy VII. And then I got pissed off the shipping community. Like it outraged at me on Twitter because I mentioned. So this is my stance. So I'm stirring the pot a little. I'll admit it. But I was like, basically, because you want to promote the video because the algorithm decides that you either like comic books or like video games because God forbid people like more than one thing.
Right.
God forbid. It's not again. First of all, just sidetracking here. I've never met someone that's like, I only like comics. I only like horror movies. I only like rock music. No, you can like multiple things.
Do those people actually exist?
No, they don't. But the YouTube algorithm insists that you have to make content about one thing. It's getting back to your idea about writing. But anyway, so I did this beautiful 2-hour Final Fantasy VII video. And I said to make a separate channel for gaming because I learned my lesson. Because I genuinely think if I had uploaded this on a blank channel, it would have done better. But anyway, I do this 2-hour video essay. And then I'm starting uploading clips of it. So I upload clips of me talking about how I think Cloud and Tifa are a great example of relationship, and the way they end up together in the original game is great. Well, so there is a love triangle in this game. And apparently, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on the internet, which I've learned. I've learned this lesson again. But also, I basically tweeted something to the effect of, seeing Cloud and Tifa ending up together at the game is not a matter of shipping. It's a matter of understanding the game's themes. If you really watch it, it just naturally, that is the conclusion that you reach, is that these two characters end up together because their character arcs lead them way. And oh my God, the other side of the shipping community, they just like crucified me. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. They accused me of like doctoring footage because apparently there's like translations of the game. Apparently the footage I uploaded for the video had slightly different wording in the dialogue, and like, hey bro, why did you change this? I'm like, I didn't. I just downloaded the footage. Like, why didn't you check the footage? I'm like, so this is a 60-hour game. This is a 60-hour game. I spent like 2 months working on this video. I wrote 49 pages, and I was accused of not doing enough research. I'm like, all right, man.
What's wrong with people?
And they were like, why didn't you consult the Ultimania guide and read the source material or read the books that were? I'm like, because it's not about, it's about the game. I don't care what some intern wrote at the office in the Ultimate Guide 2 years after it came out. I don't care. Like so anyway, they got very upset with me. And there was like a whole shipping war that I was like, so I don't really care because I'm like, whatever. But it was really funny. And then I just kind of hosted about it. And they, like, some of them would be like, you're blocked. I'm like, I didn't even know you. You blocked me? They like people would straight up be. One person was like, you're not a good person. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like, you know what though, Vaughn? When the trolls come out, it's like you finally have made it. You know what I mean?
And they were like, this is outrage marketing. I'm like, I guess. I mean, I did get a boost in views.
Right.
And here's the thing. They were like, why do you hate this other character? And in the video, I admit that I almost cried when this one character died. Like, you must just hate her. I'm like, no.
That's not what happened at all.
So if you go to videos, we're so close to 1,000 views. Yeah, I'm starting to. Yeah, the algorithm. I've been posting shorts like every day, but the Final Fantasy VII, a masterclass in storytelling. And yeah, and then I did. Clarita fans are pissed at me. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII masterclass in storytelling. Gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Here you go, Carrie.
That's my YouTube. Just my name, Vaughn Coleman. I decided to keep it simple and just make it that. And then I got into the fire again because I said that I didn't like the new episode of The Penguin. Which I love the show.
I saw that.
They're on TikTok. I am getting crucified by these people. They're like, in fact, if I were to freshen out, I probably have a new hate comment waiting for me. Let's see.
Here you go, Carrie. I'm dropping.
Oh, here we go. New comments. 4 new comments. Oh, yep. There you go. People are mad at me still. All right, so I'm tripling down. I've already doubled down on my stance. After this stream, I'm gonna triple down on my stance because I'm right. Because here's the thing: people are like telling me, like, one of the things they're accusing me of is being sexist for saying that, hey, she's a good villain in the comics. Why didn't you just adapt the comics? And they're like, wow, you want her to be a one-dimensional character? And my reply, and I've never gotten a reply from this. I replied to 3 different people. Go, do you think she's a one-dimensional character in the comics? The underlying assumption being you haven't read the comics, which, by the way, none of them have rebutted. I'm like, they go, oh, you just want to be one-dimensional. I go, do you think she's one-dimensional in the comics?
Yeah.
That you didn't read?
Yeah, that you didn't read.
So like, I know. So I
bet you she's way more in the comic. You know what I mean?
In the comic, she's like, I literally for today's clip, I was like, she's dwarfs Carmine in the comic. She's taller than him. She's buffer than him. She's going around shooting people. There's one part I was reading through because I'm like, maybe I'm being gaslit, and she wasn't badass in the comic. And then I was looking through, and I'm like, oh my god, there's one part where she's hanging someone off a ledge, and just drops them. But it's like, apparently I'm sexist for thinking that character is cool. Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to post anything these days. It really is.
And I'm
Thank
like,
you, Carrie.
So I'm like, sorry, I guess. So you'll see as soon as probably within minutes of this being done, you'll see that I'll post that. But I don't care. Like, I've learned to I've dealt with a lot of people online. You have an opinion on the internet, it's a death sentence.
Yeah, pretty much. Pops is over there laughing.
I've been canceled by everybody.
Oh yeah, I have. Listen, you've probably seen it. I've been canceled a few times now.
Dude,
I'm like,
they hate it when you go outside the lines, right?
No, yeah, and
but
that's in general.
Outside the lines is where you find the originality.
Like that's in the original, and that's the thing. I've canceled people, various different views. Because I'm not someone who just goes, yeah, I'm gonna fall in line any ideology, whatever. I'm not gonna fall in line with everyone personally,
right?
And that's fine. That's what it should be. And I've had people of opposing views all be like, yeah, we hate this Vaughn Coleman guy. I'm like, all right.
That's what brings everybody together. Hate Vaughn Coleman.
Yeah, really. Yeah, there's a huge anti-Vaughn Coleman audience out there, apparently. And they all hate each other.
We live in the anti-era, guys.
Exactly. Like, I'll be like,
it doesn't matter what it is, somebody gonna hate on it. It doesn't matter. It could be puppies.
I know. I'll be like, wow. I'll be like, my dog's cute.
Oh, that's gross.
I could post a picture.
Your dog's ugly.
No, they'll be like, I'll post a picture of like a black lab, and they'll be like, yeah, well, why wasn't it a golden retriever? I don't know. I just like the dog.
You're racist.
It is the anti-era. It's riding the waves.
And the problem I had, I've mentioned this before, is this is why I always when I talk about my comic, when I talk about my work, I'm not, there's stuff I can't stand, right? In comics, this thing, but I try and focus on the stuff that inspired me the most. So like favorite writers: Jeff Johns, Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Jeff Loeb, Marv Wolfman, Chuck Dixon, probably my top 6. You're not going to hear me list off, well, I'm writing this to own the writers I don't like. No.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares? They're not on my, bye.
Yeah. This has been a total mind trip. This is the Karen episode of The Brew. Who cares?
There's this thing that I do. It's called Left Behind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's like, we'll quit talking about you. If you don't like what we're doing and whatnot, and don't want to be part of what we're doing, cool. I can promote this guy instead.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? I got no time for that kind of bullshit. And when I first started out, I rolled with it. I kept getting hammered, and I'd get upset, and I'd freak out. And it was like, eventually, I just fuck it. I just leave them behind and roll on. I got shit to do, you know. And this is what we're doing. We're expanding. We're breaking out. And look, people like this that actually use their own mind to think. They're not following. They're not following. Those are the people that I like.
Thank you. Well, that's what my first short story, my anthology, actually, The Dragon Feeder, was about that feeling I had at college where I felt like, and I was seeing it in Hollywood, I was seeing it in college, where it was like everyone was basically like, you have to be like this, and anyone, even if you disagree with it, you have to throw people on it. It's The Dragon Feeder is a metaphor for basically, originally, because, you know, there's an expression, throw them under the bus, throw them in the wheel. So The Dragon Feeder, I'll just tell you what the first short story I wrote is about. It's about a guy, the dragon is basically like, this guy's job is to hunt people down in his own village, his own friends, and feed them to the dragon so his own family isn't eaten. And it's about cowardice and how when you cave, ultimately you will throw, once you start throwing one person on the bus or to the dragon, you could, anyone.
I'll take this one.
And that's what it's about. And I find that when I write horror as opposed to writing superheroes, I'm writing from someone who's going to hopefully triumph or believe it. When I'm writing horror, often I write it from a perspective, or at least in this case, maybe not always, but often someone who's going to lose. But I'm an optimistic person in general. So if I think my character is going to lose, I generally want there to be a message in there. And so for this, it's like, well, the expression, if you've come into it and you've decided you're in a defeatist mentality and the world sucks, the world is going to suck. But if you come at it from there is something better worth fighting for, you can still have all the dark themes and everything, but if you believe in it, you could push on. Now, what I like about
my story, that's it. That's 100% it.
You know, Phenomenova is someone who's blindly idealistic almost. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. He's not blindly idealistic, but he's someone who thinks rushing to a nuclear power plant to stop a heist is a good idea. You know?
What could go wrong here, man? With lightning powers and super speed and a nuclear power plant.
Nothing.
Wow, it's like my kids, like, don't run, don't touch anything. It's all exploded. What have you done?
I'm gonna go again, but I'm glad you brought that stuff up, Vaughn. Live in the anti-era. People need to get over that.
People are more anti than pro. Anything at this point.
And I think that's the hard part, and especially because social media makes it that much more so. You know what I mean?
The outrage marketing,
hot take, the drama, that's what everybody gravitates to instead of lifting each other. Like, I can post all the great stuff about, like, here's an example for myself. Like, I post all the time when I'm campaigning. You get some views, great, but I accidentally posted a AI bear who's a chunky bear. And I was just like, hey, everybody, no chunky bears in here. Like, Big James, he's been eating too much. And people are like, don't use AI. And I'm like, I'm not even, like, it's not my comic. It's just, it's an ad. And they were like, take it down. I was like, all right. So I took it down. But, like, that was the most posting that people came out to do was because there was an AI bear.
It's the same thing with me. Let me look at all my positive reviews of The Penguin and then compare it to the one of the 4 episodes I didn't like.
Right, I'm on your page.
Those views aren't even close, not even close. Well, on YouTube it's close, but on like that's the thing. Or like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. I did a rant talking about I didn't like the new Punisher comics. Okay, see that? Look at that. Or if you go to the shorts, you'll see that. For example, I was venting about the new Punisher comic. Then the next day, I upload a short interviewing Mike Baron, giving some insight about the Punisher. Now, which got more views?
It could just be how you title it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Pigman, it's like, this is what it is, 145 versus, some of these are getting 400. Look at this one up here where it's like,
I can't figure that out. There's no math to it.
Terrifier 3 was disappointing. So negative 579
I want you to do an experiment.
Yeah,
I want you to go change the title to the one with Mike Baron to the exact same title as the first one, but part 2.
I should.
You should, because Mike deserves those views, not all the.
Well, that was a year ago. But
you know what I'm saying? It's like the Punisher was Mike's baby.
Now, I will say I've gotten some positive stuff talking about X-Men, actually, and X-Men comics. I like. You notice how I talk about the older stuff. I'm not crazy about the newer stuff, so I just don't really talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. We just don't talk about it.
I don't give it attention.
I was Wolverine nailed to a cross.
That got crazy views because
that was good timing, though.
Well, that was my point, is because I walked in the theater and, I was talking to my friends in the theater and they're like, Vaughn, like, because they know I'm a fan of the comics. I'm like, dude, they're like, Vaughn, why are you freaking out? Vaughn, what was the eye patch Wolverine? I started explaining it to all of them. Like, I should make shorts just talking about this the same way I talk to my friends. Because my friends, after we leave a Marvel movie, they're like, all right, Vaughn, what was this? What was this? What was this? And I'll be like, well, that was this in the and I'm like, you know what? From now on, I'm just going to make these shorts. And it's funny because I notice my younger audience skyrockets when I do these shorts, whereas opposed to videos and live streams, it's, an older audience, because I talk about comics, most of them made before I was born. So what I decided to do was I was like, it's so funny. I'll literally just describe stuff that I've read, and they're like, this is amazing. I'll be like, this is the writer who made Wolverine. And I'm basically just saying, yeah, Claremont's Wolverine is good. Yeah. But the thing is, my generation has no idea what the hell is going on. So they'll be like, they look at me like I'm bringing fire from Olympus, and I'm just like, yeah, no. I'm like, no, this, I'm literally was in an enthusiastic tone. Basically, I'm just going, yeah, Wolverine didn't really have a name, and then he named him Logan. Also, that brown costume, that was Claremont's run. I just list off all this stuff, and like, wow! And I'm like, I just read the comic.
They didn't know, but it's just the timing of it too, with the movie being out, and they're like, everybody wants that information, and it's like you make it in a nice 30-second, 60-second video. But this is what gets me. Like, here's 43K, and look right next to it.
Yes.
Here's you talking about Wolverine, but when it's like you talking about your own stuff, where the f is everybody?
Yeah.
And that's what gets me. Where it's like you can badmouth Penguin, you can badmouth Hickman or writers or who else, and then when it's like, hey guys, here's something positive. 48 views. Like,
I totally get what he's saying though about explaining the different stuff people see in the movies, because it's all so jumbled up and
well, that you have to research it, because nobody understands what it is.
I just saw Deadpool Wolverine. I just watched it.
You just watched it?
Where'd you think?
Just watched it, and I saw that image of Wolverine on the cross, and he's on the cross in the movie, right? And I'm like, oh, I remember that, Ron. And then every time you see something, as you go, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. The cameos were cool. It was it was an all right movie. I was entertained. That's as far as I'll go with it.
Yeah, I liked it. I laughed that whole first opening scene where he was dancing around and killing people with Wolverine's body. His adamantium skeleton was just amazing. I was like, this is how you start a movie, right? It was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Let you finish up. All right. I will do the end thing so that we don't cut off on Pilled and whatnot. So.
Okay, we love our Pilled crowd. They're hanging out with us today. I love it. Yeah, there's a whole nother network called Pilled. So we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on X, and then we're also on Pilled and Rumble. So we're on
Rumble. I gotta
Pilled is new to me too, but they're a super cool crowd, man.
See, I just looked up Pilled, and it's just coming up with Urban Dictionary.
It's like red. What does it mean?
Pulled pork. Thank you. That's not even the same word. All right, this is not all right. Pulled social media.
It's like pilled.net/foxhole.
The Foxhole app. Okay, got it. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, there's a ton of cool stuff on there, and I'm new to it too, so I'm still learning. My favorite part about it though is like you can use stickers in the chat. So there's little GIFs that are in the chat when people and you can make your own. They're super funny. Yeah, it's a free speech platform.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, see, I'll admit to this is why I launched on Fund My Comic over Kickstarter, is for that reason. But I'll be honest, I still use YouTube, even though I know places like Rumble exist. So sometimes people go for what's convenient. And so I guess it's the same thing with people want to support the independents. They do. But they might not,
YouTube, I think, is more familiar right now as these other ones grow. But it's like you can get so censored on YouTube. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we promote everywhere. Why not? why not? Anytime that we can give a platform to an independent creator who's trying to make, find people that would be part of their audience, why not? We just join everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People have told me, like, you can't launch on Kickstarter. I'm like, yeah, I can. Watch me.
You can launch anywhere
Yeah,
you want. We've had people on the show that are on Fund My Comic. We've had people on Indiegogo. We've had people on Zoop. It don't matter where you launch. We want to support independent creators.
If it's a good comic, it's a good comic.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to support like where my friends go or where someone I want. If I want the comic, I want the comic. There's obviously everyone has platforms that they're looking at more. At the end of the day, I'm going to go where I want to.
Speaking of, that person on Zoop was John Westhoff. We had him on the show for Drumsticks of Doom, and he does a lot of amazing stuff. My favorite, though, of his is Bulletproof Chicken, which is amazing. So
no, that's a cool title. I like it already.
It's hilarious. That's a good one. So Vaughn, what's next for you? So obviously you have a lot of plates that are spinning. Are you going to be anywhere in public? Are you going to be book signings? Tell us where you're going to be so people can come find you.
Yeah, so I'm going to be at New York Comic Con. I'm actually leaving. What day is it? It's Tuesday, so I'll be there in New York City tomorrow.
Oh gosh.
So
where are you? Where are you now? Where's hometown?
It's New Jersey. I'm central. I'm right by the shore. But yeah, I mean, if you want to come find me, New York Comic Con, I'll be working half days at Michael Golden's booth. I help him, I assist him. Other half will be walking around. I'll be doing after parties and stuff. I might be, I'll probably try and get some indie comics creators together for a dinner.
Nice.
If that turns into you, definitely reach out, or like a bar or whatever. I'm just trying to make, network, make my connections and have fun. So New York Comic Con, I will be there. One of the days I'll definitely be walking around just as Cloud. So I have a budget Cyclops where it's basically just a Cyclops shirt and a visor because of how the costume wasn't going to arrive in time. Which is my fault entirely. Cyclops that's another hot take I've given. I love Cyclops. I think he's a great character.
What?
You don't like Cyclops? I
thought this is the amazing bastard who has abandoned so many of his children. Another one where it's like, why is he physically fit? He doesn't really need to be.
What do you mean? You don't want him to be fit?
Two. He doesn't need. He could be 300 pounds and still be effective.
Well, first of
Except
all,
for the last cartoon.
Well, you could argue that about anyone. Hang on, let me ask you a question. If you're at a comic convention and you see a writer or artist that's jacked, do you go, yeah, he doesn't need to be. He just writes and draws.
Yeah, exactly.
You think that? I'm like, good for him.
Yeah, no, but it's not like it's not a requirement of his job. You know what I mean? It's like you could be the Blob and still have a visor and be just as effective.
No,
but it just cracks me. Yeah,
if he's running around on a mission, all right, X-Men.
Yeah, he runs out of breath.
Yeah, no, he needs to be
in the elevator.
If anything, because one of the things I like about his power isn't that crazy when you consider some of the other characters, and yet he's still the leader. I think a lot of writers don't do him justice.
I really think that the whole situation with him and Madeline Pryor, abandoning his kids, like he gets voted #1 a-hole all the time of the X-Men.
Well, and it wasn't even, and that's the frustrating part. It wasn't even like Claremont. It was basically like Jim Shooter did that. Like they had moved them on from Jean thoroughly, and they go, well, let's bring her back, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Now? And then if you look at it, when did they bring her back? In an issue of like Avengers and Fantastic Four. So it was like they totally went behind his back and then he had to adapt. And it's like, what? Like they thoroughly married him off. And they're like, yeah, well, like about that. You can't do that.
I'm sorry, Vaughn, I pushed your button.
No.
We're all like, whatever, Fat.
But the fat in my head is such a strange. That is such an.
Would it be funny though, where he's like, "All right, you guys, pew, 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 pew. I'll see you in the car."
You could argue that about literally any character. You could argue.
The ones that like Wolverine doesn't make sense. He's a fighter, right? You know what I mean? Like he physically has to fight.
If you're a superhero, you're a fighter.
Not always.
Who do you think? Who would you say?
Really, Professor X, he's in a freaking wheelchair, right? He's not active, but he is. Same thing. It's the psychokinesis. It's the telekinesis, right? Same thing with Jean Grey. Like she really doesn't need to be fit, right? She can fly.
Are you?
Can you imagine a 300-pound Jean Grey just flying around?
Yeah, but why would you want that?
nobody wants it, but I just
What's the hell? You're just making up.
No. I mean, it's superheroes, so you want the celestial body. We need the perfect thing, right?
Right.
Unless you're the Blob. But I was just cracking up in my head where I'm like, he doesn't really need to be.
I guess, but
I've thought about it, Brian. We'll have to look at it. A majority of my crowd knows to find me at Kickstarter, and a lot of my some of my followers are how I put this nicely. They're technologically challenged. So if I change to different platforms, some of them would need help to come.
Well, that's why I decided to launch. I'm like, if I'm gonna teach them a platform, I'm just gonna do Fund My Comic, and then But now it's like I don't know. I'm debating if I want to launch. I'm probably gonna still launch on Fund My Comic and then do Kickstarter later.
That's the thing is we could do both, but I'm not sure.
I'm gonna use both for sure.
Does Fund My Comic let you do like second chance campaigns?
Does it let you? I guess.
Because some of them, like Zoop, you can't. Like, if you've already put your stuff on Kickstarter, you cannot then go take it to Zoop.
You, Laurie, on Fund My Comic, could have your active campaign running and over there a storefront with all your past issues.
On Fund My Comic?
Merch, with all your everything. Fund My Comic lets you set up an open storefront as well as run active campaigns.
I already have that on my website, which I pay
2%.
for.
2%.
I already have that on my website, though.
2%.
So again, it's like 2% is actually very attractive considering Kickstarter is like what, almost 5%, and then credit card fees on top.
Oh my God! Yeah, Kickstarter. That's why I Fund My Comic. There's a bunch of reasons. One is I like the lower percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to cool.
And then I'll add Indiegogo and Kickstarter as well.
The thing that's cool about it is that Luke will listen to people's suggestions and add things that comic people want on a comic platform. It's not for lawn chairs. It's not for picnic fucking tables. It's for comics. So, Kickstarter sells everything.
You can. Yeah, I mean, on Fund My Comic, I don't think there's a huge audience for that.
Well, they don't allow that. It's all comics. That's the whole point. It's built by comic people, for comic people. Every suggestion I've thrown Luke's way, he's added it to the platform. I mean, they're open to what we want as fans and what we want as creators. So that's the reason. Try to ask Kickstarter to give you something. Try to ask Indiegogo to do something for you. No, you as a person, try to get a hold of Kickstarter and say, hey, will you do this for me?
Oh, that's different.
Oh, that's really different. And that's the kind of customer service you get from Fund My Comic. You have a question in any way, you're going to get a human. If you have a campaign, the person that approves your campaign is a human. It's not AI. It's not some algorithm that, you know what I mean? It's comic people. And that's why they should all be banding together behind this, because your input is important to what Luke's trying to build. It's not important to Kickstarter. They could give a shit what you got to say.
I mean, Luke went out of his way to say Luke went out of his way to say he wanted me on this platform, and you're not going to get that treatment other people.
You get that anywhere, I mean,
I had Indiegogo reach out to me, but that cracked me up because they were like, "Hey, we'd really like to see you do a campaign on our platform," and I'm like, "I already did."
Yeah,
and it sucked.
And nothing happened. Yeah,
Indiegogo is weird. I mean, it's tough. So I think Kickstarter, I mean, obviously has the biggest audience for comics.
Yeah.
But there are others that are good. But it's a matter of and this is another thing, I've learned. I mean, I guess I already knew it. I already knew it from the beginning, is if your audience, and this is, it's important to build your own audience and network with everyone you can, really. But if someone can take away your audience in a heartbeat, then they were never your audience to begin with.
Right.
Which is why I'm always come to me for me. If your entire ability is, well, I'm not going to back you unless you like this person. Well, then you won't ever. I'm not kissing anyone's ass.
Yeah.
Individuality is part of what indie comics is.
Yeah, exactly. Am I an independent? if I'm an independent, then I'm going to be an independent. Like,
I'm just laughing over here in the chat because Brian is still thinking about what we were talking about Cyclops and Professor X. He's like, I was Professor X, so jacked anyway.
Hang on, I don't like the main character syndrome that Wolverine fans have. First of all, I want to say something I do notice real quick is why is it that Cyclops fans don't hate Wolverine, but Wolverine fans have a rabid hatred for Cyclops? Like
because he has the girl.
Yeah, it's exactly
wants the girl, and Cyclops has the girl, and then Cyclops is an asshole to the girl. Most of the time.
No. First of all, they already have all the solo stories. Marvel Comics Presents is basically a second Wolverine series. I learned.
Yeah.
And Wolverine. He has so many iconic covers, but it's not enough. Wolverine fans are such spoiled brats. And here's the thing: I'm a fan of Wolverine too, but it's like I can like Cyclops and Wolverine, but Wolverine fans, they insist that Cyclops. Like I remember, I had one guy, for example, who was like, "Yeah, Cyclops is a jerk." I'm like, "Have you read any of the earlier stuff?" He goes, "Well, no." I'm like, "Read it," and he texts me after. He goes, "I'm reading Claremont's run. Actually, Cyclops is really cool." I go, "Yeah, I know."
This is the only thing, okay? Cyclops, as the leader of the X-Men, comes off as a badass when talking to Logan, and everybody reading knows that Logan would whoop his ass, and that's why people don't like him.
Cap. Go read
Cap on that.
Yeah, reread Proteus Saga when he puts Wolverine in his place.
Yeah.
Or how about in 175 when he takes on the entire X-Men team, including Wolverine, Storm, and Nightcrawler single-handedly.
And Wolverine has always had that I can't hurt these people because of Chuck.
Wolverine has had that whole Wolverine has had that whole I'm 5'3" and mad because Cyclops is 6'3".
Yeah.
Fine.
The only reason he didn't kill all them people is because Chuck.
It's because Wolverine, everything Wolverine, look, I love Wolverine to death, but if we're going to go the hostile direction, Wolverine is so insecure because the whole time Jean always runs back to Cyclops, even when he gets it for a little bit, because of course she does. Because Cyclops, and first of all, if you put Wolverine and Cyclops side by side and ask the X-Men who they're going to follow, everyone, Wolverine included, will follow Cyclops.
Right, but that doesn't mean that
he's the alpha.
Well, no, not because he's the alpha.
I love this show.
You know what happens when Wolverine doesn't get his way? He leaves and he goes on his trip where he like a whiny little baby, or he goes and he hunts in the woods in Canada, or he goes and he hooks up with some chick that dies by the end of the storyline in some foreign country, and then he always comes back to kiss Cyclops' ass.
If y'all wanted a hot take on X-Men, you know where to go. You just go follow Vaughn on YouTube, and he'll tell you.
If they're fight to the death,
if they're going to
fight to the death, who's going to win?
Now, you know what they did in the current comics to try and appease both sides?
Yeah,
they made them in a weird three-way relationship. And I'm done. And when they did that, literally, I remember reading the current comics. This is one of the reasons I went indie. Is I was like, no. I was I saw someone posting that, and I was like, "No, there's no way they wouldn't be in a three-way relationship. That'd be such an obscene, stupid thing that they would never do." And then I'm like doing it, and then I go and check the current X-Men discourse, and I see the modern fans defending it. I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense if you read the comments." I'm like, "No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't." Maybe you should go read what I read. No, what are you reading?
That's like two wolves are not gonna both mate with the same female, okay? They're gonna fight.
And also, what does that say about Jean?
What does that say about Jean? I was like, ew, Jean.
Jean, that's disgusting. Like, I'm sorry, Jean's the girl next door.
Yeah, no.
And the point in the Dark Phoenix saga, when they're making her do all these gross, pervy stuff, she feels awful. She's like, "Oh, I don't want that."
Yeah.
Like they make her, and she's like, "That's not who Jean is." And then people are like, "Well, Jean secretly liked it." I'm like, "You guys are sick."
Like, okay, we're writing this kind of fan fiction, are we?
This is what just happened. We turned into the antis.
Yeah. They turned me into it. I was pro. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I this all comes from a place of loving X-Men, you know?
Oh,
It does.
Lou, we will be making some shorts and reels.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sure people will enjoy this hot take from
Yeah,
hot
well,
take by Vaughn.
if you want the worst opinions on any given subject, go to the comic book subreddit. Like if you look up a subject that is like indefensible, like an indefensible storyline, and they'll be like, "Well, it's actually good."
Oh my
I'm
god.
like, all right. I'll be like, or like I remember on Twitter I saw like people like Magneto is a hero, and then I told Chris Claremont this. I'm like, Chris, the X-Men fans think Magneto is a hero now, and he just like shook his head. He's like,
Yeah.
like,
They
he's
made
not.
all the villains likable.
Which is what my point was going back to my Penguin thing. I was like, okay, can we have, because these same people will complain about, why don't we have any evil female villains? Because you keep redeeming them.
Yeah.
And there's none, like Poison Ivy is like hates humanity and loves plants. And like, well, actually she's just
No. She
just
wants
hot
to
and
kill
you
all
want
humans. Yeah.
she's just hot and you want to fix her.
That's
Right.
like Electra. She's an assassin. She's not a nursemaid.
Oh
You know?
Lord.
Yeah,
All right,
what-
I gotta reel it in here, guys, because the
I'll
show's
get
almost
out.
over.
I'll go.
Yeah. This is a reminder to go sign up for the mailing list for Phenomenova. That's
yeah.
where you can follow a lot. I know. I
Four
was like,
sign-ups away. From 700.
yeah, man, come help Vaughn out. Help him break his personal goals here. So sign up here so you can follow. Again, we're like in the valley in between two mountains. So campaign is over for one, and we're going to be starting number 2 soon. Plus the anthology is coming. You have until February to submit for that. So make sure that you potentially go sign up for things. So you are in the know. Don't miss out because you didn't sign up. Don't do it. So just remember, support indie. That's where it's at, man. We want to make sure that you are getting the best news stories, the most entertainment, the great cliffhangers, the characters that you fall in love with. They're here in independent comics and in small press. You're not getting them in Hollywood these days.
Yeah.
So join Vaughn and myself. We write good stuff, people.
Oh yeah, I
Put it
want
up.
to check out your work too. And also, I'm not going to have
Thank you.
it like we were just talking about, decide to bring back a character that's dead in the middle of their marriage. That's not something that's going to happen if you back Phenomenal.
No, we
You're
have
not gonna put any
storylines
shenanigans.
that make sense. Also, I was trying to bring this up earlier while you got. We don't know if we have time to bring it up now, Pops, but on Pilled, Patriot of Flight 377 was like Alpha Flight, Gene and Logan had a fling. Tell us real quick, when did that happen?
I haven't read that yet.
Okay, so
I didn't read Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight, we'll find it out, but I'm sure we'll discuss it in the future. I'm sure Vaughn will make a YouTube about it.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I'll be like, this is Look, I'm sure
this is when it happened, and I'm sure we'll go into it. So, next week, Kevin Davis will be on. We'll be catching up. I also want to raffle off this copy of Pinocchio from Christian Douglas, who was on the show, was so kind to send me a copy and a copy to raffle off. So if you are interested, make sure you come next week.
Yeah,
next week. Yeah, you can battle Pops for it. So show up next week to be part of the raffle for it. This is actually volume 2 of Pinocchio. So that'll be next week.
See, he
And
didn't
that's it.
send me one, so I'm gonna be
No,
trying to get that.
I know Pops will be like knocking on my door, like, "Hey, give me my copy." I'm like, "No, man, get out of here." It's my copy. It's stay out of my living room. Yeah, that's the show, guys. We'll see you all next week. Be excellent to each other. Kiss your babies. And we'll
Follow
see
me on
you.
all socials and prepare. As soon as this is over, you're gonna see my my next short.
There you go. That's it, everybody.
All
Peace.
right. See you.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.